top of the morning, and it is a beaut.
And the hope of the Irish as the future champion of the world.
A podcast is kind of like it's like a radio show that's not on the radio.
Welcome to the Barry J. McDonald podcast. The place where dreams get dusted off and acted on. Because life is too short. We're living on a rock that's flying through space, and hey, what the hell else were you going to do with yourself here?
Hi, this is Barry here, and you are very, very welcome to today's podcast episode. Now, how do you like being blamed for something? Now, usually our gut reaction is to point back at the other person and say, well, it's not my fault. It's your fault that this thing happened. You know, I'm sure if you walked past a car crash today, you would probably find two people at the side of the road, each one blaming the other one. You know, he was driving too fast, she was driving too slow, he wasn't paying attention, she didn't turn on our signal lights or whatever. But each one pointing at the other one and saying, it's not my fault, it's their fault. Again, usually if something goes wrong in the workplace, you'll probably find a team of people, a circle of people all pointing at each other. You know, it's not our fault. It's not the sales team fault, it's the marketing people. It's not the marketing people, it's the people on the production line. It's not the production line, it's the people in the warehouse. Again, all people pointing at each other. Again, too, you switch on the TV and I'm sure you'll find one politician after another blaming the other one. It's not our fault, it's the other party. You know, the mess we're in right now is because the other party messed it up and we're here trying to clean it up. And then you get some politician on the other side saying, no, it is your fault. You are to blame for everything. We gave that to you and you just ruined it all. Again, supposedly grown-ups all blaming each other for everything going wrong. And it's very easy to blame everyone else. You know, it's very easy to, blame everybody for where you are right now. It's not your fault that you're overweight. It's not your fault that you're not making much money. It's not your fault that whatever. It's easy to point the finger in the other direction and say, well, it's someone else's fault, not mine. Now, I don't know if you know much about copywriting. This is the kind of skill of writing sales letters and kind of promotional material. But you will find that if you are learning how to copyright, one of the things that will be mentioned is that you should mention to the person that they're not responsible for where they are right now. Now, I'm sure if you haven't any knowledge of copywriting, I'm sure you probably have come in contact with some sales material at some time. Be that maybe a sales letter, an ad in the paper, maybe some kind of TV infomercial or whatever. But usually it kind of starts out, well, it's not your fault. It's not your fault that you're overweight. You know, it's not your fault because you're just overworked, you're tired, you haven't got much time to exercise, or it's not your fault that you're overweight. You know, it's the food industry that is kind of tinkering around with the junk food, making it more addictive, and that's why you're eating all those extra calories. Or it's not really your fault that, you're not really getting a promotion at work. It's because of this, and because you're lacking knowledge, and because of this and that and the other. And while it's great, reading that in a sales letter that you're not responsible for where you are right now, it's always someone else. Someone else is holding you back. Someone else is keeping those secrets from you. Someone else is trying to mess up your life. It's really convenient to just kind of sit back on your laurels and say, well, it's not really my responsibility. It's no, you can see why I can't get ahead. It's because of these people. It's because of this. It's because of that. It's because of the other. And when you're pointing at everybody else, you're putting everyone else in charge of your life. But when you stop and you say to yourself, well, if I want my life to change, I need to get behind the driver's seat. Now, right now, if you are playing the card of being a victim or blaming everyone else for where you are right now, it's like being in the back of a runaway car. You're in the back seat, the car can take you in any direction you want to go, and you are complaining about where it's taking you. I can't lose weight, I can't make money. It's because of all these different things. But what if you got out of that back seat, climbed over the seat, and got in the front, got behind the steering wheel, and actually grabbed a hold of the steering wheel? Do you not think maybe that you could direct your life where you wanted to go? I'm sure you could. And that is what taking responsibility means. That's why you need to take responsibility. Because at the end of the day, it's all good and well telling everybody your sob story. Now, going back a couple of years, I could have told you some great sob stories. I probably could have got tears out of a stone with some of the tales I could have told you about losing my house and not making money on this and this going wrong and that going wrong. And while it felt great telling that story, it never changed my life. It never changed a thing at all. And you'll find if you tell enough people that sob story, you will find that eventually people will switch off. People will just glaze over. People will not want to see you coming in the door because they're going to think to themselves, oh God, he or she is coming out with this sob story I have to listen to. And I have to nod along. I have to agree with them saying, yes, it's not your fault because of this and that and the other. You're going to find people will push you away. They won't want to be around you when you've got a sob story. But when you take responsibility for where you are right now, sometimes even taking responsibility for things that are way beyond your control, it puts you back in control of your life. It makes you aware that if you are going to lose weight, okay, maybe the food industry is playing around with junk food. Maybe they are making it more addictive. But I have some control over that. I don't have to buy that junk food. I don't have to walk down the sweet aisle or the candy aisle of our local store. Again, too, if you say, well, I'm not responsible for where I am right now in my job. There's a clique. There's a group of people who just get all the promotions and I can't get ahead. If you take responsibility for your life and say, you know something, I don't have to work here. I can work maybe somewhere else where there isn't a clique. Or maybe you might be hiding behind this kind of a assumption that there is a clique and maybe there's not when you actually put more work in and you start applying for more promotions. So, wherever you are right now, playing the victim isn't really helping you. And it's all kind of nice seeing it said from time to time that you're not responsible, that, it's because of this political party, or it's because of the weather, or it's because of the economy, it's because of this country, it's because of that country. When you put all those other outside influences in charge of your life, can you really expect to get ahead? Can you really expect to go where you want to go if you're just being kind of dragged around, just, almost like a feather in the breeze, being blown in one direction or the other direction because of what everybody else is doing, because you're not responsible? But I would say to you that if you take responsibility for it, pick your direction and say to yourself, even if I'm not responsible for this thing, for example, maybe right now you could be saying to yourself, well, I can be responsible for my health. I can be responsible for, how much money's coming into the house, but I'm not responsible for the weather. But again, you could take some responsibility for that too. If you live maybe in an area where there maybe is loads of hurricanes, you're living in Hurricane Alley or whatever, you don't really need to stay there. You don't really need to play the victim of, oh, well, I'm trapped in this area. You could maybe make some alterations to your house, maybe move away from that area altogether so that you aren't a victim of those hurricanes. But sometimes people like to say, well, I'm just stuck here. I've no power over this. But again, sometimes even the things that we think we have no power over, we still have, some decision we can make that might make it easier or that might, make it better for us. So as I said, a lot of us don't like taking responsibility. We like pointing the finger the other way. It's convenient, it's easy. We don't need to make any effort. We can just come out with a load of excuses rather than putting any work in, thinking for ourselves, taking any action or doing all that. It's easy to point the finger the other direction. But when you take control of your life and when you say to yourself, well, if I'm not happy with the way things are, I'm going to take control of it and I'm going to send it in the direction I want to, you'll feel a lot more confident about what you do. You'll feel more confident in your life. There are some things that you can't control. They'll always be outside your control. But take responsibility for what you can control and you will find your life will go in a big, lot better direction than maybe you are right now. So take responsibility and have a great day. Bye-bye.
Before you go, Barry would like to give you a free copy of Words to Wealth. In it, he's going to show you 10 ways to make money from writing. Head on over to writecome.com now for your copy. Have a great day and come back soon.